Hi, I'm Roxanne Tarapo. Our top stories.
Hail to the chief, Kumis stops the polls. Vandals strike on Chandos Road. Another tonking for UOB FC.
Kumis Badaji was confirmed as the winner of the election at his second attempt for the office. He obtained 50% of the votes, 23 ahead of his nearest rival, Devendra Kadam. Damian Wilson was there as the results were announced and he grabbed an interview.
Now that you've won the presidency, how do you feel?
Speechless. I'm very happy that all my friends are here, and I want to thank them for the support. I really don't know what to say because there was competition, and I know the other candidates were reliable as well. They've tried hard.
As president, what initiative will you focus on first?
You see my manifesto, so I will make sure I'm going to follow every step, and I'm going to make sure that everything that I mentioned in the manifesto is going to be achieved.
Mr. Poyaji's victory came after a grilling for the candidates at a hustings meeting the day before the elections. Afshin Dastamalahi was standing for the second time, but his trademark finger-in-the-socket hairstyle belied a certain weariness that failed to bring the crowd around. Devendra Kadam had the right words and a certain maturity, but again conspicuously failed to dazzle.
My manifesto is not very fancy, or some might say vision-oriented, but what I do know about my manifesto is that's realistic and achievable.
A real sense of excitement went through the audience as Asim Pahanme from the law school hit the stage. He immediately started channeling Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Bono, and any car salesman you've ever met.
Are able to voice our choices and be able to stand here strong, independent, and shoulder to shoulder with each other.
Kumis Poyaji, who up to that point must have been viewed as the clear favorite, was forced to raise his game.
Now, actions always speak louder than words.
The questions came thick and fast.
What you would be able to do to reduce the fees.
The excitement of the hustings was too much for some, but for the president and his entourage, the celebrations continued throughout the night. I'm Damian Wilson for Buckingham News.
Damian Wilson now joins me in the studio. Damian, did you spot any trends during the poll?
Well, Roxanne, in contrast to last student union elections, this election had a lack of corruption, as there were rumors of candidates and their supporters last student union elections apparently influencing the decision of voters by offering them lunch and other gifts. Also, the apparent subcontinent voting bloc advantage by Devendra Kadam didn't materialize, as Kumis Poyaji captured 50% of the student voting. Also, there was a considerable notice of a lack of Chinese student turnout. I stopped one Chinese student and asked them why the apparent lack of Chinese student voting, and he explained to me that apparently Chinese students do not get involved in matters of society or the SU, as it is not a part of their culture. A friend of the student also said that it maybe had a little bit to do with the fact that China is probably not a democracy.
Thank you, Damian. One man knows more than most about Mr. Poyaji's new position. Outgoing President Shefat Ahmad. Christopher Gomez spoke to him.
What problems do you see facing the next student union president?
The next student union president will face the issue of the grant, as the grant is not sufficient enough. Neither they have control over the grant. That is the reason they cannot make any strategic plan throughout the term. Secondly, we don't have any designated building unlike other university student union. Neither we have good party venues. We are always out of capacities. We cannot fix all these students in the parties. I wish Kumis and his executive committee will take forward the student union, and my very best luck.
The night of Halloween saw an unprecedented act of vandalism at the university when intruders ripped water pipes out of the walls of the first floor of Chandos Road building and caused flooding that will cost thousands of pounds to repair. Vikram Dosanjh has the story.
After Hurricane Sandy has devastated New York, Buckingham has faced its own problems with the flooding of Chandos Road building. We're going to now catch up with the maintenance to see what was the actual cause of the flooding.
The reason was that somebody stood on the radiator pipes in the first floor, and when they stood on the pipes and pushed the pipes down, it split it off the radiator.
Okay. How much is it going to cost to repair?
Well, we're just getting the building open at the moment. As soon as we get the building open, then we're going to look at doing a more permanent repair. We're just doing a temporary fix just to make sure we can get it open up again.
Okay.
All right.
This is Vikramjit Dosand reporting for Buckingham News.
A Buckingham student has proposed plans to create water turbines on the River Ouse here in Buckingham. Dimple Rabadia spoke to the Vice-Chancellor.
It is said that only 2,400 of the country's 80,000 dams are equipped to generate hydroelectricity. This means much of the construction is already in place and only a retrofit is required to begin to produce power. We spoke to the Vice-Chancellor of Buckingham to get his opinion on the project. What are the positives and negatives about this proposed project?
The advantages are it's good for the environment. The disadvantages are it may be expensive, it may not pay its way, and it may be a flood risk. Those are just options. I'm not saying any of these are real. I'm just saying that's where we are at the moment.
With the rising cost of energy currently a hot topic with the coalition, can we really afford to ignore the potential benefits this water turbine would bring?
We can't afford to ignore studying the option. But if it turns out that it's more expensive than taking electricity from the mains, that would be a mistake.
With the foundations already in place, the project would only require minor upgrades and the correct equipment. Wouldn't you say the long-term benefits outweigh the initial costs?
That is a cost-benefit analysis, and we would simply have to do that. But the cost-benefit analysis is very rational. If it costs this much to set up, but over 10 years, exactly in the analysis that you've described, it costs only that much to run, then if after 10 years it's paid its way, then it's paid its way. I think you'd find the university would take the view that even if initially it was expensive, in the long run, if it saved money, then we'd probably do it because it would be good to be seen to be making a commitment to the environment.
Although there appears to be certain negatives to the project, the installation of the water turbine will be beneficial in the long term. This is Dimple Rabadia reporting for Buckingham News.
Neuroscientist Rita Carter, author of Mapping the Mind, was at the university this week to talk about dreams, conscious, memory, and of course sex. Taylor Garcia was there to find out more.
Buckingham University had the pleasure to be joined by decorated science writer, lecturer, and broadcaster Rita Carter.
Rita Carter is a leading authority in neuropsychology, and the top neuropsychologists around the world also look to her in a lot of her books that she's published and things like that to get information.
When we think about emotions being states of mind, actually emotions are states of body. They're primarily meant to be states of body because they have that function in evolution to do things for you, to make, to help you survive.
Ms. Carter specializes in everything to do with the human brain, what it does, how it does it, and why. I caught up with her after her talk. You mentioned that a perfect memory is vague, gappy, and unreliable. We as students are approaching exam time and we'll all be trying to cram as much information as we can. Would you say that we're wasting our time?
In real life, you do not need to remember stuff in the way you do for exams. So exams are kind of calling on an artificial sort of memory.
Sleeping is a favorite pastime for students, so I wanted to ask you, what are dreams and what do they mean?
In dreams, you might not know who you are. You can be someone different. You can be a different age, a different person altogether, a different sex. You can be doing something completely different.
And finally, the question everyone is dying to know the answer to. What does your brain go through to find someone attractive or sexy?
Now, interestingly, the most attractive faces, consistently, that people say, of both sexes, are ones which are very average. So really extraordinary faces are generally not found as attractive at first sight.
Dr. Carter left everyone questioning the human mind. I'm Taylor Garcia, Buckingham News.
Remembrance Sunday falls exactly on November 11th this year, and communities all over Britain will be marking this occasion with solemnity and respect. Paige Cronje looks at how Buckingham views this most tribal of British occasions.
As decided to find out how Buckingham will be commemorating those who are fallen during the First and Second World War. We asked them what Remembrance Day means to them. We caught up with Buckingham University's very own Colonel Rupert Litherland.
For me, it's to remember all those who've given their lives and paid the ultimate sacrifice in their duty to their country.
In the build-up to Remembrance Day, what does it mean to you?
Well, Remembrance Day is very important to me because I was in the Air Force myself. I had a number of my friends were killed in various conflicts, and it's good to make a point of remembering them and the sacrifices we made.
Buckingham's local residents also gave their view.
Well, my grandfather fought in the First World War in France at Ypres and Passchendaele, and so it has a significant meaning to me, Remembrance Sunday. He survived the war, but he would never talk about it.
I remember my father fighting in the war for freedom for this country and the rest of the world.
Remembrance Day is a day when we can remember all those people who fell during the First and Second World Wars and all the wars since then.
Buckingham will commemorate Remembrance Day on Sunday the 11th of November to honour those who've given their lives in the past and those who continue towards a peaceful future. I'm Paige Cronji and this is Buckingham News.
Buckingham University's losing streak continues with another dreadful performance against Charlton. Camilo Martinez has the report.
After the previous week's 7-1 thrashing by Syrians and reserves, University of Buckingham FC were up for a chance to redeem themselves against Carlton and District, currently in 9th place in Norfolk Division 1. Third position, Buckingham lined up with a 4-4-2 formation that failed to shore up a defense that has very leaky of late. The first blow arrived in the 32nd minute from a corner. Weak marking allowed a terrible header to open the score. In a scrappy first half, Buckingham never really caught fire, and goalkeeper Goff Nair became in its best player, keeping the score to 1-0. A second goal from the lackluster journeyman of Carlton merely highlighted the torrid time the Buckingham team is going through. In the second half, the team tried to show a different attitude, but the goals never arrived. Buckingham stayed third in Norfolk Division 1 with 5 victories, 1 draw and 5 losses. This is Camilo Martinez, Buckingham News.
In this week's Cooking With segment, Ingrid Hoxa, the girl who puts Ingrid into ingredients, shows Jay Sumanadasa how to make a delicious seasonal risotto.
Welcome to the latest edition of Cooking With. Tonight we're joined by the delightful Ingrid Hoja, who's going to be cooking a dish for us.
Yes.
Hi Ingrid, what are you making for us today?
Okay, I'm going to make a mushroom risotto.
Okay, brilliant. Looking forward to it.
Right, so for the mushroom risotto, what we need is one chopped onion, a little bit of butter, some mushrooms, preferably some wild ones, 1 glass of white wine, and some risotto as well, risotto rice, and also a little bit of stock. Okay, so first of all we just have to take the a little bit of butter and the onions and then just fry them for a little bit. Just leave it to fry for a couple of minutes. Once you sauteed the onions, what you need to do is just put in the rice. We'll then leave that to cook for a little bit. And then just put the wine in. 1 glass should do it.
So Ingrid, where did you learn to make risotto?
Well, I've always loved experimenting with food and I've always made it. It's just that this time I'm making with mushrooms, wild mushrooms, which I haven't done before. So next we're just going to put in a little bit of stock. At this point as well, we're just going to add the mushrooms and then just let those cook. There we are. So just break them up a little bit if they're too big. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. And we just added a little bit more stock than we were supposed to, but it's good because it's finally done. There we go, and that's all you need to do. This goes great with a little bit of white wine. So give it a go.
Yeah,
see what it
will
tastes
do.
like.
That's amazing.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, Ingrid.
That's alright. Have the rest of it.
And that's the end of our show. This is Jason Manadasa reporting for Buckingham News.
Thank you for watching Buckingham News.